Hey, this is Tony here with Salt Strong, and in this video I want to talk about the Gulp Swimming Mullet. This is one of my favorite baits for going after small tarpon, but it also works very well for snook, trout, and redfish, and even black drum. So I'm going to talk about what I like and what I don't like about these lures, also some rigging tips and retrieving tips, and how I like to store them as well. So one thing I really like about this lure is the fact that it's very easy to use and you can cover a lot of water with it because it is a curly tail bait, so the tail really does all the work for you. All you have to do is cast it out and reel it in. You can do a slow, steady retrieve as you see here in this underwater footage, or you can switch it up a bit, do a couple pops, kind of like a twitch and pause retrieve. That works really well, especially for snook and tarpon. They really like that erratic retrieve. But if you're going after redfish, I really like that slow rolling retrieve where you're just doing a nice steady reel. So if you are fishing with kids or someone who's not very experienced, you could just throw one of these on a jig head, tell them to cast it out, and slowly reel it back in. Now, one thing I did notice is that they don't work very well with spring lock hooks or any type of hooks like that, just because of their small body, especially in the 4-inch size. And then when you move up to the bigger bodies, the body of the lure is really thick, so it's really hard to get a hook in there effectively unless it's a jig head. Now, these are the type of jig heads I like to use with them. They are the Saltwater Assassin Pro Elite jig heads in either the 1/8 ounce, which is what I have here, or the 1/16 ounce. And they work really well with these. They're just the perfect size. I'll go ahead and show you here. Again, this is a 4-inch swimming mullet. Just pop it on there. It holds it really good. Jig head isn't too big for it, and it just makes a really nice looking profile there. So again, this lure is really easy to use, and also you can put it in front of a lot of fish because you can cover a lot of water. The longer your lure is in the water, the more cast you make, the more opportunities you have at actually catching fish. Now, as far as what I didn't like, again, which I mentioned earlier, is the fact that it's really hard to rig these weedless unless you find yourself some weedless jig heads. So you can't really fish them around grass or structure because you will most likely get hung up, especially around mangroves and anywhere where there's grass or debris in the water. You will get hung up quite a bit because of the exposed hook. Now, also with that hook exposed, what I found a lot of the times when you make a cast, especially in the wind, or if you go to cut your cast short and the lure kind of stops abruptly, the tail of the lure sometimes will get stuck on the hook like that. And you'll notice that when you're retrieving it, because it doesn't feel like you're retrieving anything. You don't feel the rod tip bouncing or anything because the tail is stuck on the hook. So that is one major issue I found with using the swimming mullet. Also, as with most of the other gulp baits, they have become a lot more fragile and softer. So usually after a fish, or if you get it snagged or something, it will tear up the head of the lure. As you can see there, it doesn't really hold on anymore once the lure starts coming off a couple times. So that is one big flaw about the Gulp products. Because of how soft they have become over time, they changed the formula, or I'm not sure what really happened there, but they have become very fragile and fall apart very easily. So that's another main disadvantage of the Gulp Swimming Mullet. Now, lastly, just to show you really quick how I like to store these, I like to use these Plano liquid bait wallets. They work really well for the Gulp products. They're watertight, so nothing leaks out. As you can see there, there's no liquid leaking out of there. And you can hold about 4 or 5 packs of these 4-inch swimming mullets in one little container. And what I like to do is purchase the Gulp Alive Recharge. This is the liquid that you can put into the bait wallet, and I'll fill it up about a third of the way up with the juice, and then I'll just start dumping all the Gulp products in there, and you're good to go. Now, you can mix other Gulp products in here. They don't bleed colors into each other. They don't affect each other if they're touching, like Z-Man and other products like that. So you don't have to worry about that. So again, good way to store these, just get one of these Plano liquid bait wallets, put some juice in there, throw as many baits as you want that fit, and you're good to go. One thing you don't want to do is overfill it, because if you go to close the lid and the lid presses down on the baits, it's going to deform them. So make sure you have enough room on the top so that the baits aren't crushed and you're not overfilling the bait wallet. So that will wrap up this video on the Gulp Swimming Mullet. If you have any questions or comments, or perhaps you have some experience using this lure and you want to share that with us, definitely leave a comment down below. Also, even though lures are very important when it comes to catching fish, what you really have to know how to do is put yourself in an area where there's going to be active feeding fish. You have to know the patterns, you have to know the trends. So if you need help mastering these trends, definitely take a look at our Salt Strong Fishing Club at saltstrongclub.com. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.